Gentlemen, you caught me out. But I hope all is forgiven and we can rule this planet together, and no one need lose their retirement for gross incompetence and corruption.
Please listen to what Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary of the United States, has to say about national sovereignty. Have a listen.
The gold looks to me kind of like a classical speculative blow-off, but what I will tell you, we had at the State Department, there was a rare earth ministerial, countries all around the world. This is what U.S. leadership looks like. The U.S. is leading in solving this rare earth problem. Countries are not sovereign. You are not sovereign if one country can control your supply chains, and we are making our supply chains resilient. Countries are not sovereign. You are not sovereign if one country can control your supply chain.
More and more, the facts about Israeli City of London GCHQ control of US critical infrastructure become more and more vivid in the general world press, but it's still a little under wraps. It's certainly still hidden under Tsunami of the release of the Epstein Files, but they are both intimately linked. The greatest control mechanism of all, direct control of US and world power grids, banks, ATMs, oil and gas pipelines, and deeply embedded industrial controller chips cannot compete with cannibalism of children, sulphuric acid barrels to dispose of bodies, and underage sex. And maybe that is the role of these releases more than truth, justice, and openness. We'll have to let time tell on that one. But if the past is any indicator, the next performative theatre posing as news will be prepared for the Ari Emanuel World Wrestling Federation audience. This is science to them. Tens of billions have been sunk into their fake alt media networks. But let's be clear, dead kids, sulphuric acid baths, cannibalism, it's all certainly possible. These people are freaks. And Israelis lead the way in teaching the Mexican cartels how to dispose of bodies in sulphuric acid. But really, the first clue of what the intent of the Epstein file release is all about is the fact that it's all over the internet. And that is always a tell. Regardless, both issues are inextricably linked. Epstein networks and Israeli City of London control of high technology. How do you think this tiny little state became a cyber technology juggernaut and deeply penetrated the most high-tech, the most national security-focused critical infrastructure aspects of the US economy? How do you think they managed that? Well, the Epstein rings is one way. And it would be nice for the clickbaiters, online media, to actually talk about that. The control of critical infrastructure is the ultimate control, and the City of London got it via its proxy, Israel, Russia, and China, via blackmail rings such as Epstein. But as Kay Griggs warned us 30 years ago, the Pentagon and intelligence community is the key, and that is what we are not talking about. Remember what Kay said about secondary weapons sales. You saw that with Epstein involving himself in that very industry. Again, Kay Griggs, over 30 years ago, 1997.
For doing criminal activities, selling weapons, going through Tel Aviv, the bank in Rome, selling the weapons illegally. The Israeli agents are the middlemen. And all the money's going to Israel. It really is the truth. Mm-hmm. The money, not just the money that is given to them free and clear, mm-hmm. but all the black budget money that Meyer Lansky's group started back in the 40s has been growing and growing and growing. It's like a pyramid scheme. And the Jesuits, I've been told, are really controlled by this group now. The highest levels of the Marine Corps and the Army in those special operations levels, the individuals are actually in the mob. New Jersey.
You're talking about the mafia type mob?
I'm talking about the Brooklyn, New Jersey mob. My husband, Al Gray, Sheehan, they're all Brooklyn. Cap Weinberger, Heinz Kissinger. There's the Boston mob, which was shipping weapons back and forth to Northern Ireland. And I don't want to get too deeply involved in that, but it goes, Israel, some of the Zionists who came over from Germany, according to my husband, were, he works with those people. They do a lot of money laundering in the banks, cash transactions for the drugs that they're bringing over through Latin America, the Southern Mafia, the Dixie Mafia, which is now my husband's involved with in Miami. The military are all involved once they retire. They're, they go into this drug and secondary weapons sales. And I said, well, wait a minute, I think you're wrong. Because Jesus Christ would have been behind peace in the Middle East and so forth. Well, I was just, you can't trust her anymore. I wasn't going along with the program of whatever Israel wants to do, if they want to kill Palestinians, if they want to sabotage, because George told me that that's what they do. They do a lot of sabotage. They train, using the Israeli rogues in Turkey. They were having little zigzag wars. It's all to sell weapons. It's all about weapon sales. It's all about drugs. It's all about funny money.
Making money.
Of course. And he's got accounts now for an Engelhardt. I get mail from Princeton private account. From Merrill Lynch is involved with the mob. They have rogues in there who launder cash money. They have people who launder cash money in Norfolk. I know some of the people who handle the cash.
No, your husband.
Drug money's in cash.
Your husband is Jewish.
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. For Al Gray. Al Gray he pulls the strings. It's all New Jersey mob. Where do you think Al Gray was born? Right outside of Atlantic City. My husband was born in Atlantic City. Sheehan's father was in the mob. You remember that big concert that they had back in the 60s where everybody was smoking pot and they were doing experiments on young people? Mm-hmm. They had all the public...
Yeah, I forget the name of it.
Who did all the flying in of all the bands and the drug dealers and everything, who arranged it all? General Sheehan's father.
Oh,
now, this is the head.
You're talking about Woodstock.
Woodstock, New York. That's where he's from. Now, isn't that unusual that the head of NATO would be... And his brother is doing all kinds of weapons deals and selling things to the military. And I went to his wife's home. They lived in the Virginia house after my husband disappeared.
Well, was Woodstock a kind of
Of course, a testing ground for
experiment.
drugs.
Okay.
Of course, it was just an experiment, like the Jim Jones thing down there in
Guyana.
Yeah, that he was working. I think even little David Koresh was used because he had a Mossad. He had an Israeli agent. They always get away, don't they? The Israelis always are in there, but they get away, don't they? Mandela. I don't mean Mandela. The guy in Panama.
Noriega.
Noriega he was an Israeli double agent. Anybody who is Jewish is automatically a member of the army, the Israeli army. Mm-hmm. Right. They have a joint relationship. How can they be loyal to America if they will shoot ships like the Liberty and it's covered up? Caspar Weinberger pulls a lot of strings. He's the one, because Caspar Weinberger is involved with a lot of the weapons and drug dealers, the hit squads that are run, the motorcycle gangs that Tedson Myers runs, who was William Colby's law partner, who just happened to meet me when I was with Sarah at the Smithsonian party, Marine, 4th Marine, who they have this hit squad motorcycle gang in Europe and everywhere. They call it a motorcycle society. But who runs it? Retired military guys. And just after they meet up at Caspar Weinberger's place up in Maine, Consuela Rice and Tedson Myers and one of the lawyers that Marianne Poore knows, the Motorcycle Society. Well, ask yourself, what do they do? What happens right after the Motorcycle Society meets? Now they'll probably get this and find out, well, we've got to change the time when our Lady Diana is murdered. They have, because I read all the newspapers. I go into Barnes and Nobles and of course they're going to cut out all the news and stuff. But they had a minor war in was it the Netherlands or wherever, they had another attack by motorcyclists on Cyprus. In other words, they're stirring up trouble, murdering people so that they'll sell the weapons. And
So you really think Diana was murdered rather than just
Oh, absolutely.
a reckless
There's no
accident?
question she was murdered. Or the mob. I mean, the one thing I've been able to determine about the current Marine Corps, the Marine Corps that my husband came in with, Gray, Reap, Sheehan, they're all mob.
No, when you say mob, you're talking mafia type
New
mob?
Jersey Mafia, right. Right.
And there's
Brooklyn, New Jersey.
okay, is the mob and this military bunch, they're one and the
The
same?
Marine
just-
Corps guys are the hitmen, and they are mercenaries. They'll work for anybody. You think the Marine Corps is under the Navy? No way. They can just as easily be under an Army colonel, and if the Army colonel meets a Marine Corps colonel, the Army colonel is superior. They'll switch hats just like that. My husband said it's just, no big a deal. I'll go work for the State Department. I don't really. The Marine Corps is just it's like a smoke and mirrors thing. And they're run out of New Orleans. 4th Marine, Oswald. I mean, they are not on his level. He said, we've never been an enemy of the Soviet Union. They work with these communists. The man who started this whole intelligence operation, the OSS, he was recruiting known communists who were involved in the Spanish, subverting Spain. There's no more. They're not Americans. They're not Christians. They're German existentialists. Now, what are they doing running our nation? It's kind of, they have more affinity for the state of Israel right now than they do our nation. They don't care about American citizens. The Israelis always are in there, but they get away, don't they?
The Pentagon is the cash cow that feeds the whore of Babylon, and we are yet to see a massive public outcry for the long-awaited Pentagon audit that never comes. Because if it came, you would realize where $5 trillion of taxpayer money has disappeared to, and you would demand accountability and maybe blood. The actual legalizing of the most massive espionage case in history and loss of national sovereignty officially is taking place right now under Pax Silica and a Chabad devotee, Jacob Hellberg. Jacob Hellberg leads the implementation of Pax Silica, which grants the Israeli state, and this is the key, it grants the Israeli state a full-time artificial intelligence overlay of industrial controller chips and programmable logic chips that monitor and control all, and I mean all, United States and partner countries' critical infrastructure, and I mean all of it. No sane country would do this. Now you know what Epstein is truly about in amongst the clickbait leads. Jacob Hellberg's husband is best friend of Peter Thiel, Kevin Rabois. Sam Altman officiated at their wedding in 2018. Jacob Hellberg is a planted Israeli City of London Rothschild intelligence asset, originally from France. So Evelyn or David de Rothschild, take your pick. It's one big network. While FBI counterintelligence throws office parties when one Chinese national is caught stealing documents from his US-based military-industrial contractor employer, the State of Israel and its largely ethno-Russian high-technology Unit 8200 and Telpiop program graduates run the data out the door via a fiber optic pipeline, and if anyone tries to stop them, they threaten the tactical nuke of switching off the power, literally. I want you to think back to Jonathan Pollard. It's actually hilarious when you look at the details of the Jonathan Pollard case, how he would walk out of the Office of Naval Intelligence with gigantic suitcases and boxes full of documents, and the security guards would hold the door open for him. Well, now we've got the digital equivalent in Telpiop program, Unit 8200, and the complete penetration of the United States, down to its very core. And this is not new. This has been a long 70-plus year program post-World War II, and well before that even. Some would say for the last 250 years, since 1776. It's very hard for the average person to believe this could be possible. But this is what 70 years of foreign intelligence penetration looks like. Multi-generational, illegals in the old Soviet parlance, KRM or tourist, the Israelis call them, for short-term operations. Mitzarabon or settler for a long-term sleeper. Most of the time, it's hard to tell an Israeli and a Russian apart, hence the incredible headline out of the Israeli press calling Israel's, quote, pretend Russian Jews worthy of execution. And if you want the truth, only the Israeli press is talking about it, nobody else. This is not new. From the Silver Master spy ring that completely penetrated the Roosevelt War Cabinet, the White House under Harry Dexter White, who went on to run the IMF and World Bank and facilitate the rise of Red China and Mao, all were originally from the old Russian Empire. Al Jahiz outed by Nixon and St. Joseph McCarthy, the man who truly understood the depths of the penetration, as did CIA counterintelligence James Angleton, who had been fully briefed on the Venona decrypts that showed clearly just how penetrated every United States government department truly was. This is what fueled Angleton's paranoia, not unfounded, and we see its final results today in Pax Silica. This is the final post-World War II implementation. The Crown Corporate, along with Jewish power banking houses, the Hofjuden, or court Jews of Europe, bringing down the errant British colony, bringing it to heel, bringing it under the Crown Corporate Commons. It is now appearing in public policy documents such as those explaining Pax Silica, the union of 7 different countries to share technology to dominate the emerging AI takeover of the planet, for good or ill. And it could be really, really good. And just the opposite, it could be the worst thing that has ever been done. I would not be placing it in the hands of a tiny ethno-racist religious state which has sworn to take over the planet. I'm sorry. We're going to need something a little harder from the US Defense Department. All of these countries, which includes Australia, the UK, Japan, and ironically, only the Netherlands and Europe, will be treated as local suppliers to each other. Perhaps Europe isn't that foolish. And when we think about it, as you remember, London central banker Mark Carney of Canada and Keir Starmer, the wet rag Prime Minister of the UK, going to China at the same time, the Epstein Files were released. That was an attempt at leverage because, as Mark Carney said, if we want a seat at the table, we better move fast, otherwise we'll be on the menu. And that's what Pax Silica is. And it's being led by the Israeli state. Would you put your critical infrastructure in their hands? Well, too late, because I hate to break it to you, especially in the United States, it's already been well and truly in their hands. Again, we go back to that same single company, Rad Group or Radcom, and its founders, the brothers Zohar and Yehud Zissapel. They completely dominate the US critical infrastructure projects in everything. And that's just one Israeli company. One. They run all of it. Amazon, Microsoft, Intel Corporation, they're everywhere. Qualcomm, 5G. It's all Israeli. But I bet you thought it was American. This has been going on since the 1970s. So removing, especially in the United States, powerful limits on foreign penetration and influence is an even worse disaster than what's already occurred. What they're trying to do is legalize and normalize the greatest espionage case in history. I repeat, Pax Silica is an attempt at normalizing and legalizing the greatest espionage case in history. You can see the layout of what's being done under the National Defense Authorization Act for 2026. That's the NDAA. While the Department of War continually uses language in this document that indicates a great deal of caution when dealing with Israel, the fact is, why are they being dealt with at all? The country with a long history of espionage against the United States, the country intimately involved in the 2001 terror attacks on the United States, is leading the way. What? The United States can't design and implement a programmable logic chip? It can't design and implement an industrial controller chip? I'll tell you what the problem is. The Whore of Babylon, Israel, has negotiated a place at the table, or else, because all its stuff is already in the system, and it's clear that the United States intelligence community and the elites can't get it out. So they've done a deal. And I'd like to ask the US taxpayer, are you happy with that? Did Whitney Webb tell you about that? Some would say the only dealing with Israel should be a literal land invasion, complete disarming and dissolving of the Israeli-Russian Defense Force, mass expulsion of the largely Russian settler movement back to Russia, and a complete sweeping of its high-technology sector for foreign spies, especially Russian GRU-type sleepers that have infested the country for 70 years since its very inception. Please refer the Epstein Files. This very plan, the invasion and occupation of Israel by 2 Marine divisions, was wargamed on September the 10th, 2001. the same day Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld called for an audit of the Pentagon with its accountant comptroller, Rabbi Dov Zakheim. We know what happened the next day. Perhaps the US base going into Gaza is part of that plan. If it is not aggressive enough. I guess trust the plan is too strong. Perhaps, quote, these things are handled quietly, end quote, is the motto they are using. Do you want to risk it? With Oxford Union, Rothschild-backed Chabad Lubavitch front and center in the White House, the court Jews of D.C. hanging out with Jacob Hellberg? I'm sorry, am I missing something in this analysis? The audacity is astounding, and the silence from the alt media heroes beggars belief until you understand they all work for someone, and I mean all of them, with any audience. For many people, this is just too hard to comprehend. Where's our $50 billion a year intelligence community? Yeah, that's a good question. But simply look at the consistency of what they don't talk about online, and you will have answered the question for yourself. Ask them, who did 9/11, who is Chris Berlin, and what is the Oda Junon plan, and what is the Kissinger multipolar world order and Primakov doctrine? Ask them. Then watch them twist themselves in knots or refuse to answer. There, you have your answer. None of them are real. 9/11 was a pivotal point for multiple reasons, but again, you will hear constantly, in any, and I mean any briefing, any video on YouTube, from FBI counterintelligence and CIA counterintelligence. Post 9/11, they were all pulled from counterintelligence operations and put onto counterterrorism. And the rat and the snake moved in. The Patriot Act under the Bush administration with their chief advisor, Kissinger, made the people of the United States the enemy, setting up the control mechanisms and making Israel rich in its counterterrorism specialties when in fact they run the terrorists. They are the terrorists. Pax Silica and the central role of the Israeli state in the control, implementation and monitoring of the world's critical infrastructure is an abomination. The fact a literal invasion of Israel has not taken place emphasizes the point. The United States has a sharp stake sitting directly over its critical infrastructure heart. The whore of Babylon placed it there, and she is negotiating her place as central to the world takeover by the United States. She must be removed entirely from the beast system with extreme malice. And just to remind you, it's Jews who warned about this, and the Israeli press for the last 15 years has been screaming about this. It's where I get most of my information from. But right now, the whore of Babylon makes herself indispensable because US elites must explain how their $50 billion per year intelligence budget of the last 40 years missed all this. Ask Jeffrey Epstein. He might have some answers. In the following March 2018 video interview with Diane, the cat diva from Tennessee, we go over what has placed the Israeli state in the position it occupies today, attempting to or succeeding in making herself indispensable in the coming artificial intelligence world order, making herself a fully functioning regional power, Greater Israel, which Steve Bannon has sworn will never happen. We sure hope so, Steve. Please tell Susie Wiles and the Heritage Foundation.
Right. I've always had Israel's back. I adamantly oppose Greater Israel Project, and that's exactly why we're in this situation today. And nobody on the Israel side can defend it. The Greater Israel Project, this imperial Israel, is what's got us here to have a two-state solution, and that is this Gaza redevelopment with Qatar writing the check.
I take it we all understand the stakes are high. The issue's complex and clouded in fog of political intrigue and cover-up. The Epstein Files are an example of how we got here, the tip of the iceberg in the blackmail of the last 70 years, allowing the complete takeover of all, and I mean all the controls that facilitate the means of production, the means of transportation, and the means of transaction. The greatest espionage case in history that will never, ever be equaled. This is Battlestar Galactica level backdooring. Go watch that fantastic series, The Start, where their entire defense establishment was dismantled by foreign entities who got into their battle management systems and they literally kill-switched all of Earth's defenses. It's right there from 2008. But that incredible espionage and backdooring is now fast being covered over with a legislative cloak of normality and inevitability, if you let it. Here is where it all started.
This is about SAS Campbell Barracks, Leon Wind, Variant. Okay. Timothy, you told me that Variant does your local and national, your local police intercepts and Israeli intelligence front.
Pop you in the car.
Yeah, I know you are, Tim. You, Tim. Okay. I'll tell you.
With the cat diva and me, all the way from Tennessee, March 2018, 8 years ago. Let us attend.
in cyber. And cyber is a real domain of power. In cyber is a real domain of power.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I am now going to talk to Diane, a friend of mine, my grandma from Tennessee, the GFT, as I call her. Diane is just an ordinary person. She's worked in the corporate world before. She's sort of as a archivist, you could say. We won't go into any detail, but she's quite proficient with, your word processors and Excel and archiving and things like that. And she's a great little researcher. She's done a lot of very good work. And I just want to have a chat with her. She's very keen to get a public profile. She knows she may well be assassinated. No, I'm just kidding. I think we're past that point now, although anything's possible. What we want to do is we're going to get right into it. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we're not going to talk about Patrick Little, the white nationalist movement, or all the clowns online. We're going to talk about the real meat and potatoes. We're going to talk about corporate America and the complete subversion of the US economy, why people don't have jobs, why Detroit or Cleveland have lead in their water, why Tel Aviv sips champagne. We're going to talk about the complete infiltration of the United States by Israeli companies along with China. China is secondary to Israel in this regard. And we're going to talk about the massive losses of intellectual property, the massive losses of copyrighted material, and high technology designs. And we're going to eventually start writing up briefs to take to the corporate world, to take to FBI counterterrorism, to take to, of course, the Department of Homeland Security and our various other establishments in both Australia, the Europe, and also the UK. So you can enter, you can hang up your Facebook page for 5 minutes and you can totter out into the sunlight. You can download the high quality glossy PDF. You can get it printed up for $10 or $15 and it'll be bound, and you can take that. You can become proficient in the knowledge, you can practice it, you can get a basic outline of it, and you can start doing real stuff in the 3D world. We will now cross live to an undisclosed location in the United States of America. Diane, welcome, and it's great to be chatting to you. Let's rock and roll.
Thank you, Brendan. You too. Well, I've dug through so much of this stuff just tonight that it's actually kind of hard to get to know exactly where to start.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? That's a problem. It's so big, you get lost. You get completely lost.
Well, cybersecurity, apparently the United States has had a lot of deals and mega deals and dollars with Israel. And a lot of these companies, once you start tracing them back and you find out who the investors are and who these companies are, you are always going to find an Israeli company embedded with what is known as, or what they profile as, American companies, and none of them are American companies.
Right, people, please understand this. This is exactly what I found. This is why I was going, it's everything. And Diane is actually getting the material. This is going to take a while, but when we do this brief and when we finish the video, trust me, it's going to be explosive to say the least. Please go on, Diane.
Well, one of the things I noticed was the escalation of monies given to Israel in particular, since 2017 and especially 2018. It's just the numbers are astronomical and they're really skyrocketing when you start looking at some of these charts that, the profile charts that they give you on some of these PDF files. Some examples are cybersecurity top states by deals, and these are Israeli deals. California was a $955 million invested. Massachusetts, $143 million invested. Virginia was $80 million invested. This is 2018. Colorado, $16 million invested. California had 27 deals. Massachusetts had 8 deals. Virginia, 5 deals. And Colorado, 4 deals. Some of the largest U.S. deals of Q18 were with CrowdStrike, which I went into CrowdStrike and I looked at some of the companies that are involved with CrowdStrike, at the investors and the owners of these companies, and they're all Israeli controlled. I mean, there's just no other way to say it.
And also, even if they look ostensibly American, they're filled with Israeli firsters, Israeli dual national citizens, filled graduates of UDN 8200, and of course the big boys, and I presume some girls in there somewhere, the Telpiot program, and others that we've never heard about. So even if it looks ostensibly US, it's completely infiltrated by Israeli employees. As we know, Bill Gates admits that Windows 10 was largely written the code by Israel. Please carry on, Diane.
Well, I'll tell you another thing that I find actually frightening, and that is Department of Defense's contracts with these Israeli companies. And Dynacor, I guess it is, actually bought out in a merger by an Israeli company. I can't think of the name right offhand. I'd have to pull it up.
In the race to be the best, DynCorp International has what it takes. For over 70 years, we've proven we have the strength to succeed. The stability that inspires confidence in our customers. And the resilience to triumph over any challenge. DynCorp International has been serving for more than 70 years, and we're still going strong.
Anyway, this particular PDF I'm looking at right now, it's money insights or insights money. It's all of the investments and deals that were made and who made them and the different financing trends and the top states, the regional comparisons. I mean, the U.S. movers and shakers, the mega rounds, U.S. Let me see. I'll have to enlarge this just a little bit here so I can see this venture capital company, which I'm sure is probably Israeli owned. All I'd have to do,
of course.
Let me see. And that's what you have to do. You have to take every single company and take it back to its beginnings and to the CEOs, and because just because it's in America does not mean it is an American company. Just because it's traded on NASDAQ does not mean it is an American company.
And also, we also have Sheldon Adelson, Trump's main backer, the Israeli first casino, drug money laundering, weapons trading piece of Israeli military intelligence garbage. He, of course, has the Adelson School of Entrepreneurship right next door to Mossad in Herzliya. How wonderful.
If I had to say which is the country that had perhaps the best mathematicians, the best physicists, the best chemists, the best metallurgists, unqualified, I think I'd say the Soviet Union. Unqualified, I think I'd say the Soviet Union. But it didn't help, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere, it didn't produce anything. But if you had taken a Soviet mathematician and squirreled him out of the Soviet Union, and you sent him to Palo Alto, and he spent 2 weeks there, he was producing added value like that. So the need for a market-friendly, a business-friendly, an entrepreneur-friendly environment is absolutely essential. And it by itself will produce science and technology. Whereas the other way around doesn't necessarily happen. Now we're at 37, and we're catching up to Japan. It won't take us long. Past them. Which you might think is amazing. And I'd say, 37,000? That's it? We who have the largest component of high-tech in any economy in the world, we're about 13% of our people are in high-tech. 13%. Okay, that's very, very big to be directly involved in high-tech. It's a very large number. Okay, that's very, very big to be directly involved in high-tech. It's a very large number. And we're only $37,000 per capita income? You're listening, Pollo. Yeah, because it's absurd. Because we should be a lot more, and we will be a lot more. Now, there's a great change that's happening in the world. A tremendous change. Because the intersection of big data, connectivity, and artificial intelligence, and what it does in robotics and genetics and all the other fields, Louis, that you mentioned, everything, that is changing our world in rapid succession. And the future belongs to those who can seize this change. And the future belongs to those who can seize this change. We are positioned right at the cusp of this change, right at the center of this change. We are positioned right at the cusp of this change, right at the center of this change. We can take it, and we are. It's changing us. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. It is a force multiplier. Because to survive and thrive, we have to overcome a simple problem. The problem is, there aren't that many Jews in the world. There aren't that many Jews in the world. Our numbers are small. And history favors large nations, not small ones. So we have to compensate for our relative numbers. And we've always compensated with our brains and with our guts. But we're in a position now to compensate beyond anything that we dreamed of. And that depends on one thing. It depends on entrepreneurship. Now, you might think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. It depends on our ability to harness the genius of our people, the citizens of Israel, and make them produce enterprises. And enterprises that intersect entrepreneurship and technology. This is where the future belongs. If you only talk about science and technology, talk to me about the Soviet Union. They didn't have entrepreneurship. They didn't have thousands of startups. Israel is doing that, and Israel has to do more of that. I decided about 5 years ago that Israel would be one of the top 5 cyber powers. Now we have government investment. We spend anyway. Every year we invest in and some other investments that we make in our national intelligence services. They're actually quite big. They're actually quite big. They're much bigger than you think. They're much bigger than you think. They're bigger than most of the country's national collection agencies. And in fact, they're almost number 2, maybe even number 2. I haven't checked Russia and China. This is very big. This is very big. And what we've decided to do was to take, and now don't be offended, Louis, we decided to take Shmone Matayim and put the headquarters right into Ben Gurion University. Because I want to develop the Negev. And we're taking the national cyber headquarters and we're putting it in the same place. And within 100 yards you have university, security, government security, and a cyber park that is filling up with the biggest companies that are coming to the Negev. We are taking government investment, sunk investment, and connecting it to academia, and most importantly, to entrepreneurship. I went down there are startups in Beersheba, and I wanted to show Steve Forbes what we're doing, because we are doing things that are quite amazing. Israel this year is going to have about a quarter of the global cyber investment, non-governmental private investment in cybersecurity in the world. 25%. Non-governmental private investment in cybersecurity in the world. 25%. Now you think about that. There are 8 billion people in the world. We have 8 million citizens, which means we're punching well above our weight, more than 200 times above our weight. In cyber. And cyber is a real domain of power. Cyber is a real domain of power. Real domain of power. It's a huge domain of power. We're definitely in the top 5 cyber powers in the world. I think it's safe to say we're not number 5. And I'd argue we're not number 4, and then from here on we can start arguing. You said, Prime Minister, you don't recognize me? I said, well, who are you? He said, well, I used to be your Shmone Matayim, your NSA advisor, briefer on certain technology matters. Shmone Matayim, your NSA advisor, briefer on certain technology matters. I said, really? What are you doing now? And he looks at me like this. He says, now I'm rich. That's good. That's very good. It's exactly right. He makes the country rich. How to make solar energy, how to make water, how to make public health, everything. They're making our lives richer and better, and more productive. But they're not doing it as government agents. They're doing it as entrepreneurs. And our future depends on our ability to marry technology with entrepreneurship. This is the most important thing that we can do. And therefore, I think that what you're doing today is critical. Israel now is a cyber power, it's a water power, it's a water power, it's a water power, it's a solar power, it's an agricultural power, it's a milk power. Can you imagine? You know which cow produces most milk per cow in the world? You think it's a Dutch cow? It's a French cow? It's an American cow? Almost. It's an Israeli cow. It's a computerized cow. Every move is computerized. This makes Israel very powerful. This makes Israel very powerful. And here's the main point. Because we have a thriving economy based on entrepreneurship, we can pay for the submarines and the airplanes and the intelligence services that make us very powerful. We can talk about our military prowess, but it's meaningless without the ability to pay for it. And as much as I value, and I do, every penny that comes from our great ally, the United States, and we just signed an important deal, and as much as I value, and I do, every penny that comes from our great ally, the United States, and we just signed an important deal, an MOU, that is a very small part of our national expenditure on security. We simply cannot afford our security if we don't have a thriving economy. Because we have a thriving economy, a free economy, and we have to make it free, we have a strong military. And the combination of having a strong military and strong security services means that many countries want our assistance against the plague of terror. Our assistance against the plague of terror. And many countries want our assistance to develop the technologies of the future which they need for their civilian purposes. And as a result, having the military on one side and the civilian technology on the other produces the third element of our national strength, which is alliances. These are the same alliances, which is alliances. These are the same alliances that we see now developing in Asia, in the countries of Africa, and Latin America. And that's why what UNESCO is doing is a thing of the past, literally, not of the real past, of a false past. And they don't even know it. Entrepreneurship is a central cog in this machine. I think you should be commended for doing it. I don't think it comes as a surprise, Uri, because you started from nothing and did a lot. But I think with the assistance of Sheldon and Miri, you're going to do a great deal, not merely for this institution, but for the future of Israel and the future of the Jewish people. They're linked, I thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you very much. Toda rabah.
But the contract that was awarded by the DoD, and they're under DINCOR International, which we now know is not DINCOR, but
Do you mean DynCorp? DynCorp.
Is it pronounced DINCOR?
DYN? DYN?
Yes,
Yeah,
International
DynCorp.
LLC.
Oh, that's very important. Yeah.
And it provides for services to support all management.
Oh God, DynCorp, my God. Oh God.
Equipment, services necessary to perform fixed wing flight line and backshop maintenance for 89th Airlift Wing aircraft, as well as backshop support services to the 811th Operations Group rotary wing aircraft. I expect some planes to fall down out of the sky.
Well, this is true too. I mean, the problems with the F-35, I wonder who wrote the software code which caused all the problems and the delays. Who wrote that code, I wonder? Swahilis, Icelanders. Anyway, we speculated. Well, let's stop being funny for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you just took what you heard then. It was done with a bit of duck going, a bit of Googling. If you also are onto this information, we want to hear from you. As far as I'm aware, Brendan O'Connell, and our Telpiot Talk, Joseph and others, Diane, it's a loose affiliation of people. We're the only ones with any audience. I have 15,000 subscribers, whoop-de-doo, but there's nobody else putting this together. If you are yourself, and I can assist you in forming up in some degree and getting this material out there, then I want to help you, as long as you're not affiliated with some lunatic, racist, twit idiot organization. We really want to help, so we don't want to sit here saying we're the only ones, but we need to hear from you. So my email's there. You can always email me. Get a Proton Mail account, and yes, I know they use Radware routers, but I found them to be very good and very helpful when I was chatting to their tech people. So please get a Proton Mail account. I know there are many others. They probably use Radware routers too. What you just heard from Diane was incredible, but very basic information that needs to be focused on. We're going to take this to the corporate American world, to the FBI counterterrorism, to the Department of Homeland Security. We're going to film it, we're going to show people doing it, and we're going to show how you get out into the threat. Alex Jones will not tell you to do this. He's going to keep you online. He's going to tell you to go to Gab, and I guarantee I can find the Israeli behind Gab, the Israeli behind all these new platforms. They're ghettoizing you, all right? They're putting you into the liberal camp, and they're putting you into the conservative camp, and everything else in between. That's all he's doing. Alex Jones churning over 57 million a year, and I just use him as an example because he's so big. He's going to be bigger than Fox News. You wait. He saves the day. He saves free speech single-handed. When he does, understand that he never tells you about flyers like this flyer that John Swin did up for us. We're going to work with John and others to get a double-sided flyer that you can download, print out, and hand out. Go to military bases, go around like the businesses. Don't go to the military base, but you can go to the businesses that they frequent, the cafes, the coffee shops. Make banners like this. You can pick up these banners for a few $100s. Huge 2.5 meter long fold-up banners. Alex Jones is never going to encourage you to do this, but we are, and we're actually going to film people doing this. Diane, back on track. DynCorp, of course. Isn't that Dick Cheney?
Well, and this Siberius is splinter groups as well, which I haven't tracked those yet, but the ones that merged with DynCorp, there's more than one involved in that particular company as well. Then we go into the largest global deals of Q2 18 with China. And you have the, of course, internet software services, mobile commerce, consumer electronics, mobile commerce, scientific engineering software. All of it, I'm sure, stolen by the United States companies. Their investors are SoftBank Group, Square Capital China, Lightspeed China Partners, Toyota Motor Corporation, Tencent Holdings, Green Pine Capital, CDH, Ant Financial Services, Fossum International, Tiger Global Management, Fidelity Investments, Qualcomm. There we go again, back to Qualcomm.
Huge.
Yeah.
giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. But we're in a position now to compensate beyond anything that we dreamed of. But we're in a position now to compensate beyond anything that we dreamed of. And some other investments that we make in our national intelligence services. They're actually quite big. They're actually quite big. They're actually quite big. They're much, much bigger than you think. They're much, much bigger than you think. This is very big. This is very big. This is very big. And cyber is a real domain of power. And cyber is a real domain of power. Real domain of power.
Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. You are a lion's cub, Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness who dares to rouse him. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his.
And cyber is a real domain of power. And cyber is a real domain of power. And cyber is a real domain of power.
Basically, just it doesn't even take very much reading, and then you'll see another company, and you look up that company, and that's the one that's usually an Israeli company. It's almost like our corporations are nothing more than a front organization for the Israeli companies. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Diane, you just said it. It's like the US is just a front door. It's a shop for Israel and Russia and China, and the distribution point, the hub, the distribution point is the Israeli bunker. And I seriously wonder whether Rothschild has control of his little creation, Bibi Netanyahu and his gang, his organized crime mafia gang of drug money launderers, drug traffickers and weapons traders, places like DynCorp. We're going to dig and dig and dig. Diane, I was just thinking, with the stuff you're digging up, I remember Zone Alarm. Zone Alarm was one of the first software firewalls. It was checkpoint security. Well, immediately I remember I just happened to pick, this is back in 2005, and checkpoint security was bought out by, guess who? It wasn't Swaziland, it was Israel again. And I always remember noting that. And when I look at all the companies, they're snapping them up. Now you have a, if I just get it up now, let's get it up. The high-tech, this is what I like. We're going to make a PDF document like this. The high-tech industry in Israel. That you sent me this?
I've got it saved in my favorite.
All right, well, I'm just looking at it now. I'm filming the screen now. The high-tech industry in Israel. What we're going to be doing, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be making a glossy security brief for the US corporate, UK corporate, Australian corporate, European corporate. We urge you to make your own in your particular language if you need be. But the high-tech industry in Israel, invest in Israel. When you look at all the stuff there, oh, come to Israel, you begin to get an idea just how big this is. I just want to read a short excerpt. Where the world is heading, Israeli companies are leading the way. Datafication, the explosion in digital data availability and the opportunities in mining it data to uncover its hidden value. The amount of data transferred over the internet is expected to double and even triple over the coming years, especially due to increased video traffic, videofication. That's why recognition software is so important of images, and they're having trouble with memes and so on. You know about that. On social networks and content sites, and the rise of the Internet of Things. Then you have blockchain technology. This is big. A decentralized database that is based on the Bitcoin protocol. Now, blockchain technology is just huge. It stores a constantly growing volume of data records that is protected against fraud. Recent investments in the industry show that blockchain applications are expanding beyond payments and are penetrating health, funding, financial services, and even music industries. And guess who's running the whole thing? Israel. Next one, the Internet of Things. This is all about robotics. This is all about self-driving cars, light bulbs, how to water your plant, delivering individual doses of nutrients to farming and agriculture, which is a really big thing. That's all Israel. All taken out of the US. Installing objects, chips, sensors, and software into a wide range of items, things, such as home electronic appliances, wearables, vehicles, thermostats, and so on, and then connecting them to the internet. Asking what is communicative will become redundant, as everything will be. And we've got wearable technology, we've got autonomous vehicles, we've got mobile everything, augmented and virtual reality. When you go in and you understand, it is all coming out of Israel. They're bragging about it, and not bragging out of necessity. It's because it's been exposed. You know who exposed it? All right, I'm not saying it wasn't out there. I got it into a high court case. I was talking to inspectors of counterterrorism, high-ranking members of parliament, and ex-special forces commander with strong links into the Australian intelligence community. I've been to Iran, for crying out loud. I gained political asylum. They weren't interested. Didn't want to talk about it because they're in bed with Israel doing the Belt and Road Initiative. We'll talk more about that at another stage. I hope if you're new to this subject, you're beginning to understand. And the reason myself and Diane are talking for other reasons, I want you to see that Diane is just an ordinary person. She wasn't some corporate executive bigwig. She's got 2 brain cells. She thinks for herself. And she didn't realize the information she had was so important till I pointed that out. She saw my stuff. I started chatting with her. And finally she realized, wow, yeah. And I'm telling you now, this is just one person I'm talking to. We have our own intelligence network. And I want you to be inspired by seeing someone like Diane who is digging up this stuff. Diane, back to you. Tell me more of what you found.
It's interesting to read the law in its entirety, but in particular, the United States-Israel Energy Cooperation, because when you were talking about the agriculture sector, my first thought was the, is it BARD?
BARD, yeah, B-A-R-D.
Binational Agriculture Research and Development, because that's all in here. So
That's
Did you
very
get
important. Control of food production. They're going to make it so it's going to be, the food is going to be manufactured in very closed, highly structured, highly controlled environments, and you're not going to be able to have a garden. In fact, I'm pretty sure in the Homeland Security Act there's something about licensing to have a garden. And also, of course, the Homeland Security Act gives the ability of the US government to confiscate all tractors, or all food production vehicles, all superphosphate, fertilizer, you name it. So you can begin to see these tools of control straight out of communist Stalinism, the kulaks, where they were kicking all the farmers off their land, starving them to death in the Ukraine. This is, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, but we're starting to see this. So once you understand the BARD, the Binational Agricultural Research and Development Foundation, the BSF, the original in '73 when Kissinger was involved, that's the Binational Science Foundation, that was the original, and of course my favorite, the bird is the word, the Binational Industrial Research and Development Foundation. Once you understand these structures, really it's not about money in terms of they put some money up, it's a structure through which they run the technology, and it's a structure through which they meet and greet people. It's a structure so they can work with, it's like a little Soviet outpost within the United States body politic, if you like. And legislators demanded this, and we're going to be naming those people if they're still in power. Again, this research has to be done.
Yeah, they just updated this. RSA powder painted and perfumed it a little bit. Let me see the date on this.
Who was the woman? Who was the woman? There was a woman recently that was saying how wonderful it was. I recorded it. Can't remember her name.
Well, it's established the grant program and the advisory committee. Well, this entire law under this section terminate on September 30th, 2024. And this was done on, where's the date? Oh, October 29th, 2018. Got a little bit of powder, perfume, and paint.
Yeah, they keep adding to it. And Diane, what's funny too is who sat on those boards on the Israeli side? Well, people like Rafi Eitan, the legendary Rafi Eitan, the Mossad agent who stole Inslaw, Bill Hamilton's software, turned it into Promise, became Promise. He went in, got it from the Department of Justice. God, the US Department of Justice, totally infiltrated. He got it, they backdoored it, and of course they spread it throughout the world. Promise then became Prism, which was the big backdooring of software and hardware that everyone took part in, except for Steve Jobs, who then, unfortunately, he may have been an arrogant SOB, but I give him credit, he refused to take part, and unfortunately he died of pancreatic cancer, as they tend to do. But once you understand the board, there's Rafi Eitan on the board, LACHEM, that's the name of the institute. It was literally a military intelligence operation tasked with finding all over the world technology. Once you understand it's all about technology, all Stalin ever said, get me the technology, and that's what they did all day in the Soviet Union. As often it was closed off. You know Major Jordan's diaries, you know Professor Anthony Sutton, National Suicide, how they armed the Soviet Union, all the tanks, the trucks, the factories, the lathes. They did the same thing in China, building up the enemy, and of course it gets closed off, then they find another channel. Well, LACHEM's job was to find technology, and when you understand it's all about technology, it's all it's about. Who can shoot furthest, see first, predict the future. That's what it's all about. And so you have the BIRD, the BARD, and the BSF, and who's sitting on the board? The entire apparatus of Israeli military intelligence, including these people whose names escape me, but I'll put them on the screen now. This was Israeli military intelligence officer. I do believe there were links in with a Professor Bodansky. I have to recall all this stuff. It's off the top of my head. But we can link these people in with, of course, the neocons, Richard Pearl, John Bolton, Bill Kristol, Irving Kristol, his father, the original neocons, the Leo Strauss School out of the University of Chicago, who, of course, Roger Stone amazingly plays cards every Sunday, first Sunday of every month. You know, well, nothing to see here, the incredible neocons. So once you begin to understand the Richard Pearls, these people are all affiliated. They have very strong ties, very strong links. You understand Jonathan Pollard and the Mega Group and the Bronfman family, Edgar Bronfman, Charles Bronfman. Then you have the Nexium cult. Recently, the Nexium cult, remember? Whose daughter was in that? Bronfman's daughter. And who else was in that sex cult? Well, Roger Stone, again, John Bolton and his little sexcapades. John Bolton, currently the Secretary of, what is he? Secretary of State? Secretary of State, whatever he is. the point is, you have these strong links. They're not loose. They didn't pass each other in the corridor. So we're going to put all this together, partly in this video, and we're going to be talking regularly, and we're also going to be putting this together, of course, in the big video, where I'm going to get graphics done. I'm going to go and see local graphics designers and animators. I want this top notch. But understand, the Bird, the Bard, and the BSF, the people on the board, were all Israeli military intelligence, and you would not know about this penetration. And these people are wandering around the corridors of power as we speak. This is this is amazing. It's incredible. It's the security breach of ever. It's not the century, the decade, it's forever. There's never been a security breach this blatant and sitting directly in front of people. And of course you have the hardware backdoors in the Intel systems, the Intel management engine, and then of course you have the actual backdoors set into the registry of the Intel CPUs. And the AMD also have the same problem, now wholly owned by China. But the Intel design and fabrication, the Core 2 series 2006 on, that was all implemented at the Israeli factory. Think about that. So you've got the hardware backdoors, the software backdoors. You've got people on certain boards like the Bird and the BSF and the Bard. Right now, this is more than incredible. This is the collapse of the US. This is the collapse of the world economy. There's no security. We're going to take that to corporate America and say, you have no security. Banking, finance, medical, you name it. It's backdoored to death, and Israel is holding all the keys. Benjamin Netanyahu and his mafia crew are holding all the keys. That's why, and we'll go back to Diane in a second, this is why Netanyahu can walk into Congress, give the finger to then President Barack Obama, talk to the Congress, and as he walks out, give the finger again to Barack Obama and go home. He can walk into the UN and stare down the UN. Remember that? Yeah, I'm going to put the footage up now. Remember this?
Deafening silence. Cyber is a real domain of power. Perhaps you can understand.
Just staring at the UN. Now do you understand why he's so he's worried though. He's worried because of the work of a few people, and I know you're out there too, people we haven't heard of. We want to hear from you. We're going to bust the biggest security breach in history wide open with a grandma from Tennessee. Few people also in Tennessee, I might add. Tennessee. Paula, there's a lot of people here, ordinary people. All right, I'm going to stop swearing. I'm wearing a button-up shirt. Look at that. And let's get back to Diane. So please understand, the board run by Lechem, they're all Israeli military intelligence and Mossad. No one noticed. No one in the Department of Justice said, until Pollard was captured, and then Dick Cheney had a fit, and it was sincere. They were angry as hell. In fact, let's quickly cut to Dick Cheney.
Navy intelligence analyst Jonathan Pollard pleaded guilty this week to espionage charges, but the case is far from closed. He sold U.S. secrets to a group of Israelis. That is raising questions about U.S. relations with a close ally, while on another front, intelligence officials are pondering how to prosecute the growing number of spy cases without giving too many secrets away.
Members of Congress scolded Israel for damaging relations with the U.S.
It was indeed a serious effort by the Israeli government to penetrate our intelligence community, and it was successful, and I don't like it.
Dick was pissed, let me tell you. So, of course, the thing I won't tell you about Pollard generally was that everything he was tasked with getting, which involves Professor Wolfsatter, the whole neocon movement, Netanyahu was right up there. Netanyahu's right through the whole thing. Doug Fife, Richard Pearl, John Bolton, Bill and Irving Crystal, the usual, Frank Gaffney Jr., the counsel for, it goes on and on, the same people every single time. They're all assets, and we've got to bust this wide open, because once you realize there's no security, the corporate world's going to have a fit. Okay, Diane, back to you.
Well, one of the things that really disturbs me is the fact that all of this information, this legislation, is available to the American public, and I don't know of one single person that actually reads an executive order, that actually reads these public laws that are being passed through the House of Representatives, and no one is paying any attention to the fact that our military it has literally been written into our legislation that we have to give Israel all of our technology. And these people, they're supposed to be our greatest allies according to the powers that be. But and I always ask people one question: what war did they ever fight in with us? Name one.
They've cost America everything. It's communist infiltration, and you've got to ask Alex Jones and others that they can't say Israel. They'll tell you the Charcoms are coming and we're all going to die, but they won't say Israel. That is treason. It is treason. It is traitorous. These people like Alex Jones need to be arrested. They are hiding the truth. That is treasonous. When you put something in plain view, the average person can't grasp it. And they're saying, but why am I hearing it from you, Brendan? Why aren't I seeing it in the front page of every paper? You should be. You should be. And you should be asking why Iran didn't want to know about it. Didn't want to talk about it. We're diverting me. Let's go to the ski fields, Brendan. Oh, we're going to get you a wife. Oh, you're going to have such a good life here. Oh, you're going to have your own TV show. Why were they diverting me? Well, I'm sitting there going, oh, the head is ticking over. Why am I not seeing sanctions in Iran? Why am I seeing Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins? Why can I buy every luxury item? Listen, when you can buy every luxury item under the sun, you ain't under sanctions. You got nuisance sanctions. When your unemployment rate is only 11% on average in Iran, that ain't freaking sanctions. You're going to work it out eventually. China, Russia, Israel, and Iran are working together for the Belt and Road Initiative, and you can start to understand this is a pan-Eurasian, old Stalinist-era dream to eject NATO out of Europe, to isolate the United States out of Eurasia, send it back to its country, and then the big boys, Israel in particular, is going to take over and be the center of the world. Israel will control the technology. They will control the technology, and if they control the technology, they control the world.
Yes,
So look, Diane, I think we should wrap this up and keep this reasonably short. I think we've covered a reasonable amount of material. We don't want to make these things too long, but we're going to be talking quite frequently, perhaps even daily, assuming we get the resources and the time and the energy to do it. It is just mind-boggling. They're handing this over. I mean, Michael Chertoff wasn't bad enough, who now has his own private company, subcontracting to the Department of Homeland Security. Michael Chertoff, a dual national Israeli citizen, for treason. Israel did 9/11, and of course, by default, if Israel did 9/11, Russia did 9/11. They're all in bed together, and I wonder how much we'll dig, what we will find out about China too. The point is, this runs so deep. Diane, we're going to stop this right now. I want to thank you. I want people to be inspired. We're just ordinary people, all of us. We ain't intelligence affiliated. People did come to me. I have people from the IT security world contact me. It's about centralizing power. We've got Lockheed, which is up to its neck in everything. Literally, Lockheed is the bad boy of the military-industrial complex. They're running the fusion centers. They're involved in everything. Israel's now making parts for the F-35, very sensitive electronic components. You've got Turkey involved in the manufacture of the F-35, which is now moving in with. Russia has total access now to all this material. It's incredible. The intel, it should be front page news, and I'll tell you why it's not. It could potentially completely destabilize the markets, because once you understand the infiltration, but you know what? If we can face it, God can fix it. And I feel very positive for the future. Very, very positive. And we've got so much to talk about, Diane. We'll round it out now and we shall talk again. In fact, we may even talk again tomorrow. Ciao for now. Hoda Hafez, jumpa lagi, jumpa nanti. Diane?
Good night, Brendan.
And thank you so much. And be inspired by this woman. Be inspired. We'll be talking to Joseph Telpiot talk soon. We're going to be doing a lot of good work, the Pirate Party, getting this stuff into the IT security world. Ciao for now. We'll catch up soon.